All right, welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at something pretty major happening over in India.
Okay.
Um, and it all has to do with the Reserve Bank of India
Yeah.
pumping a whole lot of cash
Right.
into the financial system.
Wow.
Now, this is kind of a big deal because it's the biggest move they've made
Yeah.
since the whole COVID pandemic thing,
Right.
which, I mean, everybody remembers how crazy that got.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
markets went
Absolutely.
so. The question is, why is the RBI making this move now?
Hmm.
And what does it all mean for India and maybe for the rest of us too?
Well, it's interesting because they're not just like, throwing money at the problem. It looks like they got like a three-pronged approach here.
Yeah, the article mentioned something about buying back government bonds
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
some sort of repo auction.
Yeah.
And then this thing called a dollar rupee swap, which sounds a little
Oh,
like financial alchemy to me.
it might sound a little complicated,
Hmm.
but imagine the RBI is like a mechanic working on a sputtering engine. They're trying to get this thing to run smoothly.
Okay.
And they got three tools to do it. They got a wrench, they got a screwdriver, and they got a jump starter.
Okay, I'm with you. So the government bond buyback, that's the wrench.
That is the wrench. Yeah, they're basically buying back these bonds,
Right.
which puts cash, directly into the hands of the investors who are holding on to those bonds.
Okay, so it's like injecting money straight into the
Straight into the system.
Okay.
And then you got that variable rate repo auction, which is more like the screwdriver.
Okay.
This lets the banks borrow money from the RBI at competitive rates, and again, puts more cash flowing through the system.
So then the dollar rupee swap, that's got to be the jump starter, right?
That's the jump starter.
Yeah.
This one is a little bit more complicated, but essentially what's happening is the RBI is temporarily trading some of its rupees for US dollars, and that increases the supply of dollars in the market, which can help stabilize the value of the rupee compared to the dollar.
Okay, but why should I care? I'm not planning on, taking a trip to India anytime soon.
Well, you don't have to go to India for the value of the rupee to affect you. Think about all the things that we buy that are made in India, electronics, clothes, even some of the food we eat.
That's true.
If the rupee is weaker, it makes all those imports more expensive for us,
Oh.
which could mean, higher prices at the store.
So my yoga pants are going to get more expensive.
Exactly.
Okay, now you got my attention.
And on the flip side, a weaker rupee can make Indian products more appealing to buyers in other countries,
Yeah.
which could boost their exports.
So it's all kind of connected.
It's all connected, yeah.
Now, I noticed the article also mentioned that the RBI is trying to fix a liquidity shortfall.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly does that mean? Does that mean, like, India's running out of money?
It's not that India's running out of money. It's more like that money isn't flowing as freely as it should be, within the financial system.
Okay.
Think of it like a clogged pipe. The water's there, but it can't get through. And when that happens, it makes it more expensive for businesses to borrow money,
Oh.
which can really stifle economic growth.
So that's why the article mentions rising short-term borrowing costs.
Exactly.
It's a sign of that liquidity crunch.
It's a sign that things are getting a little tight. It's like trying to get a loan. When everyone's scrambling for cash, the lender can charge a much higher interest rate.
Now, the article also mentions that the RBI governor had this meeting with some bigwigs from the banking world, and they were worried about inflation and even digital fraud. How do those issues fit into this whole scenario?
Well, it's like the RBI is trying to juggle like 5 spinning plates at once, They're trying to ease this liquidity crunch. But they're also worried about inflation heating up and digital fraud just eroding trust in the whole financial system. So maybe they're trying to address all these concerns at the same time.
With these moves, so is this a sign that India's economy is headed for trouble? Should we be worried?
I think it's too early to say for sure. It could be a really proactive move by the RBI to get ahead of these challenges, keep the economy humming. But I mean, the fact that they're taking such drastic measures does raise some eyebrows. I think it's definitely something we keep an eye on.
And speaking of keeping an eye on things, the article also mentioned that some market participants think this could lead to a rate cut.
Yeah.
Can you remind me what a rate cut is
Yeah.
and how it could affect me besides maybe making my mortgage a little cheaper?
Well, a rate cut basically means that the RBI is lowering its benchmark interest rate, which is like the guiding star for all the other interest rates in the economy. Lower rates usually encourage people to borrow and spend more, which can be good for businesses, but can also lead to inflation if things get out of hand.
Yeah, it's a real balancing act.
It's a total balancing act. The RBI is walking a tightrope here, trying to stimulate the economy, but also not let inflation run wild.
Right.
And, and it's important to remember that a rate cut is still just speculation at this point. Although the RBI's focus on stabilizing the rupee does suggest that they're at least considering it.
This reminds me a lot of what happened after COVID with all that economic stimulus and then the inflation spike that followed.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. I mean, the post-COVID situation really showed us that these kinds of interventions can have both positive and negative consequences.
It's a lot to think about. We got this huge liquidity injection concerns about inflation fraud, and then the possibility of a rate cut looming.
Right.
It's like an economic thriller unfolding in real time.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important to pay attention to how this situation develops. The RBI's actions are sending ripples through the global economy, and understanding what's happening in India can give us clues about what might be coming next for the rest of the world.
As always, that was amazing. Thank you so much for that breakdown. But what about our listeners? What do you all think about all this? Do you think the RBI is making the right move? What other potential consequences could this have? Share your thoughts with us. We'd love to hear your perspective. And join us next time for another deep dive.